The applause hadn't finished dying when the stranger touched my shoulder. Not a top acclaim. He slid an envelope into my palm like a weapon passed in the dark and whispered, "Now's the time to show them who you really are." On stage, my sister smiled in her Harvard red, basking under lights she'd always owned. Dad's voice still echoed in my skull, how she'd inherit everything, the Tesla $13 million mansion, the future. I was in the back row, where I'd been trained to sit quiet, grateful, invisible. I didn't look at the envelope not, yet he already knew what it contained. He'd written it. They started calling me the dumb one early. It made life simple for them, simple for here. He learned fast that silence was a better disguise than rebellion. When teachers praised my grades, my parents said it was luck when my sister won awards. They said it was destiny. Watch the pattern. He learned the system. He learned how people mistake obedience for incompetence. The betrayal wasn't a single moment, it was an accumulation. Dad's lawyer emails sent to the wrong address. The trust documents with my name missing like I'd never existed. The dinner where Mom laughed and said, "You'll be fine, you always land on your feet." They'd decided my future without method was the Synod favoritism erasure. I didn't cry when I realized it cataloged. I didn't confront it confirmed. I remember the first time my sister and I were close. We were kids, hiding under the staircase. During one of our parents' fights, she held my hand and promised we'd leave together someday. Believed her, that's what made it hurt. Not that she won, but that she watched me lose and called it fair. When I saw the final document, Dad's signature, the inheritance clause, the neat legal language that disinherited me with surgical politeness, I felt something cold and clean settle in my chest. Control. Grief was loud, control was useful. I started planning the way I'd always done my best work, quietly, legally, patiently. I didn't fight the willy, didn't contest the trust that would have been expected. Predictably, did something better. He followed the money backward. The shell companies Dad used to hide assets, the loans he'd taken in my name years ago when my credit was pristine and my presence negligible, the signatures he'd forged because he thought I'd never notice. I noticed everything. I met with attorneys who didn't know my family name, forensic accountants who loved puzzles, regulators who smiled when they smelled blood in clean suits. Let them believe they were helping a victim. They just didn't know which one. Every move was a whisper. A report filed. An audit triggered. A timeline reconstructed. By the time graduation day arrived, the mansion was already flagged. The Tesla was leased through a company under investigation. The trust was frozen. Not because of me, but because of Dad. Because he'd built his empire on shortcuts and assumed I'd stay asleep. On stage, my sister thanked our parents. She cried real tears. Still didn't know. The stranger stepped back into the aisle. A ghost only I could see. He'd been my attorney's courier. The envelope was addressed to Data Courtesia, warning a mirror. I waited until Dad stood to give his speech, until his chest swelled with legacy, and till he said my sister's name and the word everything like a benediction. Then I stood. It wasn't dramatic. That's what shocked them. Now shouting, no shaking hands. Just me walking forward, placing the envelope on the podium, and meeting my father's eyes. "You should read this," I said, calm measured the way he'd taught me power sounded. His smile cracked as he scanned the first page. The room felt it before they understood it. The pause, the breath. He didn't take. My sister leaned toward him. Confused. Mom's face strained. "What is this?" Dad asked. "Discovery," I said, in consequences. I didn't explain. He didn't need to. The lawyers would do that. The authorities, the banks. I had already said my piece by surviving long enough to speak. The ceremony ended early. Security arrived quietly. So did the truth. Later, in a side room that smelled like flowers and fear, my sister asked me why now, why like this? I told her the truth. Because you never asked who I was when you were winning. Dad didn't look at me when they took him away. He didn't have to. I'd been invisible. My whole life it was fitting. I ended him the same way. Weeks passed. Assets where liquidated charges, filed settlements, negotiated the mansion sold to cover debts I'd inherited on paper, and erased in practice. What remained, what the law returned, came to Menat because of revenge, because of record. I moved into a small place by the water, no gates, no ghost sea, opened a business under my own name, slept deeply. They still call my sister brilliant. They still call me quiet. They just don't call me dumb anymore. And that's enough.